Hello and welcome back to JM Football. These are your NFL Divisional Round Power Rankings. My name is Justin Penik. Dalton Feely is always here as well. And you know what? Oh, what are you guys doing with Power Rankings? 1 through 32 with the postseason? There's less teams. Well, we're still doing it because we still want to talk ball. And this is the way that we're able to talk ball together, get in a room, and have some fun. Dalton, the rankings of 32 to 15 are going to be the same as they were last week. You're seeing that on the screen. But there were 14 teams in the Super NFL Wildcard Weekend. We're going to talk about some of them, and we're going to even preview some of the matchups heading into next week. So, hey, you made it to the dance, but you got dumped and your date left you.
Yeah, it's the worst kind of feeling, man. You're excited to go to the dance. You're at the dance. You're ready to go. Want a slow dance, and then all of a sudden you're told you're not a fit. You're not a match. Sorry, you're getting dumped.
So you know the teams that are in the category, but what order do we have them? Steelers are at 14. Eagles are at 13. The Browns are at 12. The Dolphins at 11. The Cowboys at 10. And the Rams at 9. So the Rams are the hottest team,
That got
the hottest person that got dumped.
It was someone that they looked good. They got dumped because they were not good in the relationship. Not because they're ugly.
Yeah, not because they're ugly, but, you know, maybe a little bit of a bad personality.
The only team that lost by single digits this weekend. Super Wildcard Weekend.
The best game, like from
Best
start
game
to
by
finish, the
far.
best game.
I mean, and they lose because the Lions go on a 4-minute drive. A classic Dan Campbell, mantra of being able to run the ball, end the game, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown, game winner, to convert that first down. Very classic. Lions finish the game.
Rams 2023 were fun. I'm always going to remember them as a fun team. They were my Super Bowl pick, but also Justin Penik is notoriously not good at picking things. I had a perfect day on Monday, but I was 0 for 4. I couldn't even
You're
get
not
the
a
games
weekend
right.
guy.
I didn't even cover.
You're
I
not
didn't
even a
even
weekend
cover
guy.
in any of them. I just got the games wrong. I went 0 for 4. Rams are my NFC, like sneaky NFC team. Matt Stafford played really well. Shout out to Sean McVay for coaching that team up really well this year. It was cool to even hear him say in like the post-game press conference that he like kind of found himself again after the
That's awesome.
There were like legit rumors of him like retiring and not being in it. So I'm glad that he's in it. They crushed the draft this year and they don't even have first-round picks for the next 10 years. So shout out to those Rams. Fun team. Hopefully everybody's back next year and they're still rocking and rolling. So yeah, we have the Steelers 14. Their season ended. That was an expected result. The Eagles, I don't even want to talk about them a lot, Dalton, because we have been kind of nobody is surprised. Nobody is surprised by the collapse. This result that we saw offensively and especially defensively for them is inevitable. They don't have a quick game. Jalen Hurts has not been good under pressure. That secondary is absolutely terrible. And then I think their linebacker play, Cade Otton, I think exposed them. Like Cade Otton had like 3 or 4 drops, but Cade Otton just exposed them, and the linebackers in covering, so saw that coming with the Eagles.
Yeah, speaking on Cade Otton, though, he was the leading receiver in that game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He finishes with 8 catches for 89 yards. He had 11 targets that game. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin combined had 12 targets in that game. So like you said, the plan of attack by Dave Canales and the Bucs offense was literally, we're going to go to the tight end against this linebacking core of Nick Morrow, Zach Cunningham, and Shaq Leonard. I almost did it again, former Colt, of course. Yep. 1,000% though, got exposed, man. This defense has been struggling. We don't want to talk about it too much, but we were on stream last night. We were wearing all black. You said to me in text and in person, you had a great feeling that they were going to lose this game, Philly. This was the strongest inclination you had on a game all weekend. You were right. We wore black, and
I had bad inclinations basically all weekend long. Like I had bad, every feeling that I felt strongly about was wrong, except one.
Right, and it was hey, you got that one right though.
Yeah,
but looking at it, right, you have Cade Otton at 8 for 89. Baker Mayfield looks fantastic again. 337 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's averaging 9.4 yards per pass. Electric performance by Baker Mayfield. And granted, he's playing a decimated Philly defense based on play recently.
Right.
But my goodness, man, Philly puts up no fight. You lose 32-9 in a playoff game. As a team who made it to the Super Bowl last year, the fall apart of the Philadelphia Eagles. You win one, since they lost to the Niners, they won one game and it was against your Giants. But still, loss, win, loss.
Tough.
Loss.
Tough.
Yeah.
The Browns, hey, good season. You know, they're going to get healthy next year. Deshaun Watson will be back for them. We'll see what they do. GM and head coach deserve a lot of credit there. I do want to talk about the Dolphins, though. I picked the Dolphins to win, and again, it was bad process on my end. On paper, it looked good. Like on paper, it looked good, but the cold really did disrupt them. And I thought the Dolphins were going to have the advantage in this game because they can run the ball. And I'm like, oh, in the cold and in the elements, that's going to matter. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you just saw how slow everyone was. Like, the cold really does slow you down. And a lot of people were right where it's like, Justin, I kind of disagree with you. I think that this gives the physical runner in Isaiah Pacheco an advantage. He ran physical. He got yards after contact. And I was disappointed still, even with the limited usage of Achane. Like, I thought, Tyreek Hill and Achane, those are the two fastest players in the NFL, let alone on the field, right? And the lack of usage of Achane really did disappoint me from the Dolphins. I thought that they were going to try and run the ball a little bit more to limit Tua from throwing and try and get stuff going on early downs, and it just didn't happen there for the Dolphins. So I wasn't happy with that game plan, and Tua, what is he, 0 for 7 now, and games 45 degrees and colder.
It's not 30. Cold. 45.
45.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
And we disagreed on the process. Why I really thought the Chiefs were going to win that game was really because of the weather. I was worried about Tua going in, playing in very cold weather. We knew his issues in cold weather games. But man, you said it. Achane, only 6 carries in the game. He had 6 targets, crazy. But a lot of it was late in the game.
Yeah.
I do want to give a shout out to the Dolphins defense. They were really banged up. And you look at the scoreboard and they gave up 26 points. You're like, it's not really that great. But they kept that Dolphins team in the game because they were forcing the Chiefs in the red zone to kick field goals.
Yeah.
They were kicking field goals. And that's what a Vic Fangio defense does. You know what? Sure, they might give up some yards, but they're going to force you. When you get into the red zone, you're not going to score a touchdown. Yep. So they did a really good job preventing the Chiefs from breaking away early and middle of the game. Once it got later, of course, it happened. But Isaiah Pacheco, we mentioned him. In a game like that, weather's cold. It feels like negative 30 degrees. Mm-hmm. Pacheco is arguably one of the most aggressive runners in the NFL right now. He runs like an angry man, and it's awesome. And when you're running in a game like that, no one wants to tackle you.
No one.
And obviously that was part of the Chiefs' game plan. He runs the ball for 24 attempts, which I believe is one of his career high marks of his career, and rightfully so. Mahomes, the one thing I was surprised about was Mahomes, how much they threw the ball early in the game too. First two plays of the game were pass.
That just shows you how confident they are, and as you should, how confident they are in Patrick Mahomes. That first 2 throws of the game, dropped by Kelsey, and then there was a little bit of an errant throw by Mahomes that just looked like Mahomes had to kind of get used to the elements. Everybody else had to kind of get used to the elements, but then they kept with it. They kept with it, and they stuck with it. I think they should be using Pacheco more, though. I mean, how do they win the Super Bowl? By Isaiah Pacheco. You're defending Patrick Mahomes. You don't want Mahomes to beat you, so you have to use Isaiah Pacheco more. My brain, I was saying this on stream, Dalton. My brain almost switches in the regular season. I'm all about kind of new school football of throwing it, and then in the postseason, I kind of revert back to old school where I'm like, a little bit more physicality, get to the quarterback, on defense, maybe run the ball a little bit. Because I think everybody's good at producing big plays in the playoffs, and everybody's good at preventing big plays in the playoffs, for the most part. But it's how can you do the little things differently in the postseason that I think really matters. Chiefs did it last year. We'll see if they can continue to do it again this year.
I do want to add one more point real quick. Sorry. Rashee Rice, he's going to be a stud.
Oh, yeah.
Finishes 8 for 130, touchdown, game high 12 targets. He looks really good. And a guy who had drop issues early in the season, cold weather game, I think he might have had one. If not, he had 0, but he looks fantastic. And they're missing that Tyreek Hill element in that offense. Rashee Rice is not Tyreek Hill, and they use him in a different way, but he's a really good player, man. Especially after the catch, he's fantastic. He, towards the end of the year, has really broken out and has been one of the better rookie receivers in football. I think next year, we're going to see Rashee Rice explode onto the scene even more. It's fun.
Well, they need to add a wide receiver 1, and then hopefully that will continue to make him better as well as a deep threat, intermediate threat, all over the field.
For sure.
Dalton, the last losing team that I want to talk about before we move on to the winners, Cowboys.
Jeez, man. Unbelievable.
Every year, right?
This is you.
You fall for it, right? And even I fell for it. In September, I think we're probably on this show in September. Maybe you have to dig it up and find it. On September in the show and being like, man, on paper, this is a team that can win the Super Bowl. This is a team that not just can, that should win the Super Bowl. Yeah. You have, again, all pros up and down, right? 3 All-Pros on the offensive line. I would give up fingers and multiple toes. Some insignificant fingers, some insignificant toes, and a significant toe.
What is an insignificant toe versus significant toe?
Some of the middle ones.
Need to know.
Some of the middle ones, maybe the right big one, not the left big one. I would give that up for 2 All-Pros. Yep. 2 All-Pros on an offensive line. They have 3.
Well, you have 1 with Andrew
Tyron
Thomas.
Smith. Andrew Thomas.
For the Giants.
Yeah,
Sorry.
right. But Tyrone Smith, Tyler Smith, and Zach Martin.
Zach Martin.
3.
All reliable.
Not just Pro Bowlers.
All pros, which is much more respectable too.
Yes,
100%.
Yes, they've drafted some good tight ends. Jake Ferguson had a good game.
Jake Ferguson had 3 touchdowns in that game. A lot of garbage time, but
garbage
for the most
time
time,
stuff.
Yeah,
but you look up and down, and then of course you move over to the defensive side of the ball. DePalma Bland has a historic NFL season. Goes from this guy's just a slot corner, transitions to the outside after Diggs goes down. They have Micah Parsons, who's like a generational pass rusher right now. DeMarcus Lawrence, who's an all franchise type of player. The team is loaded. CeeDee Lamb, who just had one of the best seasons ever by a wide receiver, and to lose like that, I think it's embarrassing. It's terrible. But usually that sentence is followed up with, they have to fire McCarthy. There are people that saying they do, but I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. Because do you really, you know what they always say, the grass is always greener on the other side, right?
Yeah.
Are you really going to blow it all up?
Well, listen, they haven't had postseason success in a long time.
No.
It's been since 95 since they made the conference championship game.
And how many coaches have come in, and it's been the same fucking thing.
Yeah, but you know what, Penik?
It's like the curse of Jimmy Johnson.
This is... No, but they won a Super Bowl after
They did. That was still his roster.
It was still his team.
It was still his team.
Fair. I will say this, though, Justin. There is a reason to fire him, though. It's like people are saying, I think fans overreact to fire this guy. And, it's like, you don't know what you have until he's gone. Right. But the Cowboys, I don't know if you saw the tweet or graphic or whatever. They're the first that have the most wins in a 3-year stretch without making a conference championship game. Right. They've won 36 games over the last 3 years. They're averaging 12 wins per season. And that's gotten them 0 success in the postseason. Right. At some point, you have to look at your roster, your staff, and be like, is this team built to go on a postseason run? And if you think that's a coaching issue, if you think Mike McCarthy is not coaching these guys up for especially postseason play,
because the roster is.
The roster's good.
Because you have, again, what matters in postseason football? O-line, D-line, right? You win up front. That's what matters in the postseason. Players. And they have it.
Yeah.
We just talked about it.
And it's a team that it's a home playoff game. They hadn't lost a home game since
in
week
2
1
years.
Of 2022.
If I am a Giants regular season. Again, my mind is blown by this. I'm a Giants regular season ticket holder.
Yep.
If I went 2 seasons,
perfect,
without witnessing my team in person losing a football game, I would be an abysmal person to be around. You would hate being around me because I would walk around like I own the world if I did not witness with my own eyes my own football team lose. And if I had to sit through that embarrassment, I don't even know how I would show my face.
Let me just say, though, not only did the Cowboys lose, in the manner that they lost was an
terrible
embarrassment. You're down 41-16 at one point. You're down 25 points.
Made all this
You're
talking
down 4
point.
scores.
Made all this talking point about they got to be at home. They got to be at home. And they
got there.
Philly collapsed. They did what they had to do with a really tough schedule down the stretch.
Mm-hmm. Even the Miami game, they lose, and they figure it out a way. They still get bailed out because Philly falls apart. And it's just crazy to me. I give credit to Bobby Skinner and you, Justin, because you guys said it. I fell for the Kool-Aid.
I even fell for it, too.
I mean, listen, we all did take the Cowboys in our graphic, but you guys had said all year, the Cowboys do this in December and January.
Every year.
They do this in December and January. Every year. And you know what? I thought this team was different. Dak Prescott, man, I'm really wondering. At some point, there's an intangible, right? Mm-hmm. You don't know what's here.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's anything with Dak. I don't want to make any speculations about is there pressure gets to him in the playoffs. But man, early in the game, I know he finishes with 400 yards. He just looks anxious. He looks flustered. There was a play, specifics I'm going to be off on. There's a play, I think he's got Ferguson on a corner route early-ish in the game. and he gets off that throw like half a beat too early, and he scrambles to his right, and it's a incomplete pass in near field goal range or a sack, and they can't kick the field goal anymore. They had an easy first down if he just holds that ball for half a second and makes that read like he usually does. Instead, he rushes that tempo a little bit because it's a little bit playoffs. You have that pressure, gets off the play, bad play, negative play. They don't score on that drive.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. At some point, you just got to wonder what has to change in Dallas. Is it coaching? Is it the roster? Is it the front office, the top? I don't think
that's not happening.
And it shouldn't. It's Jerry Jones, but I mean, Stephen Jones.
And they draft well. That's the thing.
And Will McClay does a fantastic job.
There's a lot of Cowboy fans that are like, well, they should have taken TJ Watt this year, and there was this player
over Taco Charlton, right?
And, but every team goes through that. Every team is kicking themselves that they didn't take XYZ player, right?
Hey, they took Zach Martin over Johnny Manziel the year. Yeah. Remember, that was a huge talking point.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, if Jerry Jones really was the full-on GM, then he would have his way. But I mean, they draft good players, man. And so again, I don't know I don't know what the issue is. I don't know what the issue is.
I do want to give
Dak in big games. Mike McCarthy had so many 2nd and 10 runs, but again, Dak didn't look too good. So I don't know what it is, man. I did give Mike McCarthy credit this year as a play caller because he was legitimately a very good play caller. Dak was playing very good within it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, this NFL postseason, it's not like baseball, basketball, or hockey where it's a 7-game series.
One and done.
It's one and done. You got 60 minutes to get it right, and you could either be a hero, you could be zero, and they were zero.
You got to be the best. I do want to say real quick, Jordan Love, this Dallas defense was historic. What really good defense, that Dan Quinn unit, again, even without Trayvon Diggs. Jordan Love had the highest EPA per dropback in a postseason game since 2000.
Yeah.
Minimum 20 dropbacks. That's bonkers. On the road, 7 seed, as a first-time playoff starter, facing this great Dallas defense.
Yeah.
Historic performance by Jordan Love, an embarrassing performance by the Dallas defense. And this is Dan Quinn's defense, who's going to be a quote-unquote head coaching candidate.
Yeah.
Embarrassing.
You don't want the postseason to impact your regular season awards, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what Matt LaFleur has done with Jordan Love and the youngest roster in the NFL, the Green Bay Packers are the youngest team in the NFL, and they're playing in the divisional round. And I'm going to look right now. I did want to do this, Dalton. I want to look at these lines for this weekend.
Okay.
What would you guess the line is?
So this would be Green Bay versus San Fran.
Yes.
I'm going to say it's -6.5 for San Fran.
It's -10.
Really? Okay, it's a little heavier. That's my worst guess so far of the year.
Dude, I think what's in the, you LaFleur's head-to-head versus Shanahan, right? Not good?
Not good. Niners beat the Packers. You know how Green Bay beats Dallas? It's Niners beats Green Bay.
Okay.
Always been a thing. And that was an Aaron Rodgers thing,
too.
Well,
yeah, that's why I had the same criticism of Rodgers as we do of Dak, that he fucking chokes too.
Yeah, and we're talking about this Niners-Packers game. Man, I mean, this Niners team, it's a whole nother beast too, you would think, right? Now you have Brock Purdy going back into the limelight in the playoffs. Yeah. They haven't played basically in 2 weeks. You don't play much in week 18. You don't play because of the bye week.
The Packers cover. They may not win, but I think they cover.
Fair.
10.
10's a lot. I'm shocked, especially after that performance. It could be the old Colin Cowherd. You're coming off a high. It's gonna be a bounce back, a little hangover game. So that's a potential for the Packers there.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm shocked. It's 10.
All right, playoffs. You're still there. You got a date. You're still dancing.
Hey now.
The Bucs, they're at 8. The Packers are at 7. We talked about both those teams. The Texans at 6, so we'll move on to them. The Chiefs at 5. The Lions at 4. The Bills are at 3. Let's talk about C.J. Stroud's Houston Texans.
I mean, speaking about almost another perfect game by a guy making his playoff debut. Holy shit, man. Very similar numbers to Jordan Love in that game. He goes for 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, slightly below a perfect passer rating. Again, we're playing a Browns defense that, yes, they were the best, one of the best defenses in football, but they had struggled defensively on the road. And once again, these issues arose versus this Houston offense. And to be fair, the numbers are inflated. 45-14. You have 2 pick sixes by Joe Flacco, which were, by golly, disgusting.
Yeah.
But that's the Joe Flacco experience.
Joe Flacco experience, yep.
You're going to get 300 yards, but you're going to probably get 1 or 2 picks at a bare minimum. But, man, C.J. Stroud, he looks like the real deal. And as a Colt fan, I'm scared shitless because of how good the kid looks. We thought Jacksonville would be the team that should be taking that step up in the AFC South. And quite frankly, it's been the Houston Texans. And give DeMeco Ryans and C.J. Stroud some credit.
Which is crazy.
We've given him credit all year, but again, winning a playoff game after having the 2nd overall pick, And granted, this could have been a team that could have had the first overall pick if it wasn't for a 4th and 20 conversion against the Colts in Week 18 to win the game, move them back to pick number 2, give them C.J. Stroud. And now they're playing in a divisional game versus the number 1 seed Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. This is going to be exciting. I'm super excited for that game. I'm curious what that line is too. It's probably around a touchdown. But C.J. Stroud versus Lamar, Josh Allen versus Mahomes, the AFC quarterback match is going to be super fun this week. And C.J. Stroud showing a glimpse of what the future is like early versus Cleveland in the wildcard match.
Think of these last 2 drafts for the Houston Texans. You have Derek Stingley, who he's been hurt, but he's really picked it up.
Yeah,
he's
what, he
been
finished
playing
5 picks this year.
He's been playing really, really well. Kenyon Green, who was also a first-round pick, interior offensive line, hurt a little bit, but I still think he's going to be a good player. Jalen Petre, who's I believe
defensive back. Yep.
I believe he's starting for them. He started 32 games in his NFL career so far.
So has to.
The guy that I want to give a shout out to is Christian Harris.
Oh, great play on that. Oh my gosh.
Linebacker versus Alabama. So he actually, and when I say allow, I made a short and I said that he allowed catches. Okay, like David Njoku basically ran like a little bit of a curl route, like run to the sticks and turn around.
Yeah.
Run to the sticks and turn around, and the Browns succeeded on that play a couple times, and Christian Harris was there, and he made the tackle. The first pick six, or the second pick six, one of the picks, the Christian Harris, the second pick six, the Christian Harris pick six. They run that same thing, except now they run it with Harrison Bryant, and Christian Harris, the ball snapped, he doesn't move. He's still in this 2-point stance. He knows exactly what's coming. He reads Flacco's eyes, jumps Harrison Bryant running that little button hook curl route, turn around, go to the sticks and turn around, jumps it, pick six. Yep. So, I mean, after kind of seeing it multiple times, jumped it. Christian Harris, 28 games in the last 2 years as well. And then, of course, you look at this year's draft class with C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson, Juice Scruggs, who played 7 games for them, sure. Tank Dell, who was awesome.
If he was playing, oh my gosh, Nico Collins and Tank Dell, side by side.
This just goes to show that if you draft well, Dameon Pierce was even a 4th-round pick for them too. If you draft well, it changes your franchise.
You draft well, and
instantly. The Texans were not supposed to be anything.
No.
Terrible.
I thought they were the bottom tier of the AFC South. They end up winning the division. And also they had a couple good deals in free agency too. So shout out Nick Caserio in that end. They signed Devin Singletary. They signed Dalton Schultz.
Jerry Hughes the last 2 years, cheap edge rusher. And when edge, little edge, you need depth, right?
They picked up Derek Barnett off of waivers from Philly. He's had a little bit of a resurgence too.
Game.
He played fantastic. I believe he recorded a sack in that game. I loved him out of Tennessee, fun fact. I thought he was going to be awesome. I thought he was going to be a Colt if he's there at 15. But anyway, the Texans, man, are so fun. I am very curious to see how they look versus Baltimore because they looked amazing, obviously, versus Cleveland. They made their offense one-dimensional. I think with Baltimore, the question is, can they do the exact same thing?
What did you say the line was?
I guess they're on a touchdown. I would have said 7.
All right, it's +9 for Houston.
Also high. All right, they're giving the 1 seed some love, and I get it. I think it's a little rich, but maybe I'm buying it.
Dude, I think they could maybe do it.
Yeah, I might be drinking the Kool-Aid, but I mean, between how Houston looked and Green Bay looked, like I don't think it's a wild fact for them to win outright. I think they should cover.
We're going to be interested to see both of these teams, the Ravens and the 49ers, now that they're coming off of the week.
Double week. Rust because they didn't play week 18.
Versus 2 teams that are hot.
Yeah.
The Packers won games in December that, hey, their postseason started a little bit earlier than everybody else's. Houston Texans, their postseason, they're winning started a week earlier than everybody else's too.
Yep.
So now that you're playing good football at the right time versus teams that are undoubtedly better, rosters that are undoubtedly better, coaches that have been there, done that, Shanahan, Harbaugh, what is that what is that clash gonna look like?
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to see it. You want to move on to the Lions?
Yeah, man. That was an awesome game. I should have known to pick the Lions and not the Rams. We both picked the Rams. And you know what? We gave love to the Rams already. Shout out to Les Snead. Had a fantastic year drafting, as we alluded to. Kobe Turner, Byron Young, Puka Nacua, fantastic years for that Rams team that really helped them turn around too. They also made a jump. I don't think many people believed they were going to be a playoff team, and they're in wild card weekend. They looked really good.
But I mean, I think the difference is that those teams have had 1 or 2 good years of drafting. The Brad Holmes and the Lions.
This
is a multi-year process of building up a team, drafting, signing free agents and getting guys in here that fit what Dan Campbell wants to do.
Yeah, and you know what? It was funny with this draft class. They had a lot of capital going into 2023 because of the Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff deal. And I was a little underwhelmed, being quite honest, with the haul at first. Jahmyr Gibbs at 6, I thought was a little bit of a reach early on, but he's proven that wrong. Jack Campbell, linebacker out of Iowa. I was like, okay, at 18, I'm like, because positional value based, it's a little bit shaky. Campbell wasn't the most, I don't want to say experienced player, but wasn't the production player coming out. But, then you have Sam Laporta, who's been all-worldly tight end as a rookie this year. Brian Branch playing a part in that secondary. Then former years, Aiden Hutchinson, Jamison Williams, Kirby Joseph. James Houston had a great year last year. Penei Sewell, Ife Melifanu, Amon-Ra St. Brown. The last 3 years, like you said, Brad Holmes and this Lions front office have really hit on guys. And if you keep on hitting in the draft and that process is right, it's going to build your team up. And the roar has been restored in Detroit.
What do you think the line is? They're playing the Bucs.
They're playing I might guess high and it's going to be wrong. I think that's got to be like +8 or 9.
It's -6.
I meant, when I said +8 or 9, I meant for Tampa Bay,
I would
flip those.
Yeah, +6. I would have the Texans and the Packers
at closer to 6 or 7.
A little bit closer to that, and I would honestly say the Lions would be favored over a touchdown, closer to 8 for me.
Yeah.
Because I think the Bucs and their high blitz rate, and we did look at this on the broadcast last night. They do allow a lot of 20+ yard plays.
Yeah.
And I think the Eagles offense right now and how they're in such disarray. Jalen Hurts has not been good under pressure. You already mentioned that. And I think the Lions offensive line, plus you combine that with the fact that Jared Goff is very good at getting rid of the ball quick. Very, very good job getting rid of the ball quick. And also play action gets him out of the pocket. Play action, you have to respect that as a linebacker. You have to respect that as a defensive lineman, right? Sure. So I think the Lions combination of their offensive line, Jared Goff getting rid of the ball quick, and also their explosive play potential, if they're going to be playing man coverage and cover one against Amon-Ra St. Brown and some good wide receivers running around there in Detroit, Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to destroy that man coverage, and he is going to be open every single time. So I think the Bucs' defensive game plan needs to be different from what it was against the Eagles.
Absolutely. I think looking at that match, the one thing that scares me about the Lions in this game, I think they're going to win this game. I'm definitely taking Detroit. I'm not taking Tampa Bay. I'm sorry. Even though how good you looked on Monday night, especially having the extra day of rest might help too. Detroit's secondary has been an issue, and they didn't play great versus the Rams. Matthew Stafford throws for almost 400 yards, as we said earlier.
Yeah, but that's on Puka and Cooper Kupp.
But you're facing a Hall of Famer, Mike Evans, and even Chris Godwin, who hasn't had the most great year. I think he had 1,000 yards, but only 2 touchdowns this season. They can still burn you. The one thing that the Lions defense has been really, really good at, they've been good at getting pressures, but they've been a pretty good run team, top 5 run defense. The Bucs suck at running the ball.
Yeah.
The Bucs cannot run the ball. I mean, they did versus Philly, but that defense sucks. Sorry. That's where I'm worried a little bit. I think the line could be a little bit sneaky close because of how good the Bucs passing game has been, and the Lions passing defense has been shaky.
And something that gives the Lions an advantage, in my opinion, too. If the Bucs want to disguise coverages and do whatever, Philly, they're last in the NFL in motion. They do not put guys in motion. No, they're historic. And listen, the teams that put guys in motion at the snap. Now, granted, I'm looking at teams in the top 10.
A lot of them are playoff teams.
A lot of them are playoff teams. A lot of them are. But it's not like a black and white thing.
No, but I'm just shocked that they're 32nd.
Yeah, they're last.
That's crazy.
I mean, the Browns are 31st. So, but we look at Kevin Stefanski as one of the best offensive minds. So there's different strokes for different folks. The Bills are 27th. I think it gives the Lions an advantage. They're 5th in motion at the snap. And they have a 62.1% just motion rate in general. I think that's going to give them key indicators for Jared Goff. It's going to help him out, read that pre-snap. All right, what are they in? What am I looking at here? Versus Jalen Hurts to not have that opportunity pre-snap to get those indicators and get those clues. Dalton.
Lombardi Land?
Lombardi Land, yeah. 2-1. It's the same as last week. The 49ers and the Ravens. Basically, I asked you right before we recorded, do we want to put the Bills or maybe even the Lions on Lombardi Land? And I guess here's the thing. If you win this week,
all four
teams will be in Lombardi Land.
Oh, yeah.
But we're hey, prove it.
This is the week to prove it. We have the Ravens and Niners high. They clinched a 1 seed earlier in the year, or like late in the regular season, but they didn't do it in week 18. They didn't play. They did their job. There's no reason to change them. No more reason to include anybody else into that exclusive club yet.
Yeah.
Because the wild card round is the wild card round. Divisional, all right. Now it gets serious. Now we're down to 8. Let's see what happens. I'm excited. Baltimore, Houston. I do want to talk about Ravens and Niners, just because a little bit because I'm by. I know.
You know.
Baltimore, their offense is going to be dual complex with the Lamar rushing and passing. Lamar was a top 25 rusher in rushing yards this season as a quarterback. Really? It was unbelievable to think about. Over 800 yards again. Amazing runner, and he's improved each year as a passer. The Texans defense had been a good running defense, but it's been against running backs for the most part. I want to see this Houston defense. I want to see them contain Lamar in the running game.
Easier said than done.
It's easier said than done, for sure. But that's going to be the key to the game for that Houston defense. Lamar Jackson, Gus Edwards, the dual threat. You got Justice Hill. That running game is going to be important. Let's see if Zay Flowers, his rookie playoff debut. Let's see what he does in that game.
Hey, Odell,
why not?
Babe.
You're a friend. Yeah. Isaiah Likely. I think Isaiah Likely is my...
oh, dude, is Mark Andrews coming back?
He's supposed to come back. I don't know if he's going to be active.
His practice window was opened.
Yeah,
and it
so
was
he
activated.
could be coming back. Defensively,
that changes everything. Can I tell you? I mean, we've been talking about it all year.
Yeah,
that changes everything.
It does.
It's one of the best weapons in the NFL.
And
that is now back for a hopeful postseason run.
A little 12 personnel too with Isaiah Likely involved, and
now
Zay
that
and
is more
Odell
involved.
and Rashad Bateman. Yeah, that's going to be great on offense.
That's dangerous.
And defensively, like every area of their defense, we've talked about it all the time. This defense is so good between their front seven and their front four and their back seven. I always mix that up.
Sure.
Their pass rushers, their linebackers, their corners, their safeties. They're deep everywhere, and they all make plays. It's amazing. Pat Queen, Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, Justin Matabuke, Kyle Van Noy, Jadeveon Clowney. Michael Pierce. I could keep on saying names and names and names. It's so deep. They have players everywhere. This is going to be a true test. I know the Browns defense is really good, but they had been awful against the road. Houston goes to Baltimore. They're playing this Baltimore defense. CJ Stroud, let's do it again, young man. Let's see it.
Yeah.
Let's see it. Baltimore, you're coming off some rust because you've been off the last 2 weeks. Prove it to me. Mike McDonald, defensive coordinator, man. This is your first year. I'm getting hyped. I'm so excited, man. Baltimore, prove it to me. I want Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud, divisional game highlights. I'm pumped for that game.
Or the Ravens could just do to every team that they've played that's over 500 this year and just kick the shit out of them.
In Baltimore, yeah. We've seen that. Lions, Seahawks.
Ravens, Lions. Oh, game of the year. Big time. Who's going to prove that they're up for the task? Or even, for Ravens 49ers. And they just kick the shit out of everybody. So that'll be I want more good games this weekend. Like, I want more of those Lions-Rams games. That was the most disappointing part of this weekend. I really enjoyed the first half of the Browns-Texans game. I thought that was a really nice back and forth, and
offensively,
really, really good play callers doing things that make sense, and you could see it unfolding and happening. The rest of the games were a little disappointing. I mean, the Steelers showed a little. The Steelers-Bills game unfolded exactly the way that everybody thought. Dalton, the 49ers, last team, talented. They should beat the Packers, man. I actually think out of teams that needed the week off, 49ers needed it. Seemed like Brock Purdy got a little banged up. Trent Williams is the biggest X factor, basically, of this, I think, of this entire NFL postseason. If he's healthy and he's fine, 49ers could make the Super Bowl and they could win the Super Bowl. If Trent Williams, which he's been practicing, I've been asking 49ers fans over the weekend, I'm like, how's he doing?
You asked on stream, too.
Yeah, I was like, I've been asking all throughout the weekend. Anytime I see a 49ers fan in chat, how is Trent Williams? Because when he is not on the field, 49ers are vulnerable. And even a little bit more than vulnerable, they're human.
Sure.
And when he's on the field, they're good.
Yeah.
And that opens up what they can do in the running game, opens up what you can do in the passing game. It just seems like there's a reason why left tackle is the second most important position in the game of football. And when you see Trent Williams on the field and Trent Williams off the field, that's why.
Look at the NFC, man. Like the Niners, we talk about them having that rest, which is important. The NFC quarterback disparity versus the AFC is ridiculous. Love, Goff, Baker, and Brock Purdy. For the most part, these are guys this season, I'm not saying in years past, but this season, for the most part, have been relatively efficient passers, not making the mistakes. And I don't want to say most of these guys are superstars. They're not. But these guys have played well and for the most part, exceeded expectations. Love, Goff, and Baker especially exceeding those expectations. Now you're in a divisional game. Niners have to be the heavy favorite. I think if we see an NFC championship of the Niners versus Detroit, I think that'd be very exciting. Yep. Watching those two teams just slug it out.
Yep.
But looking at the Niners real quick this for the NFC Divisional Round versus Green Bay, man, you're facing Jordan Love coming off a hot game. You've historically crushed the Packers. I mean, obviously led by Aaron Rodgers, of course, too. But, man, this defense is still really good. Shanahan, you had a week off. You lose to the Rams. Who cares about that game? Doesn't matter much. You knew where you were. Let's see how they start off. Green Bay has been one of the best first quarter teams in the NFL this season. If the Niners can prevent Green Bay from starting off hot, I think the Niners could run away with this game. But like we said, I think this is also a spot where we see Green Bay. They start off hot, halftime. It's like a one-score game, and they hang in there, man. Depends which Green Bay team shows up. If it's the team versus Dallas, it's going to be a fight.
Yeah. Dalton Feely, Divisional Round, NFL Power Rankings. We'll see you next week. It'll get, I guess, less exciting about where teams are going to be because there's only going to be like 4 left. But
right.
I still like to get together, talk ball, and that's what we do around here. So
let us know what you want us to talk about. I want to hear it in the comments. Let's go.
Yeah. We'll see you next week. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think. Peace. We'll see you next week.